For the first time all season long, the Integrity Ignite Series caps its field. That's right, since it's our very first race at a track under 2 miles in length, 50 drivers are coming to test their skills under the Georgian sun. You're watching race number 4 of the Integrity Ignite Series 2025 season, and tonight the Integrity Racing League brings its Monday night drivers out to Hampton, Georgia. This is the old school Atlanta Motor Speedway, back in time with its 2008 1.5 mile configuration. It's an exciting night for drivers as they at long last get to test their skills on the cookie cutters. But Atlanta, although its size and shape is very familiar, drives different than any other circuit on the schedule. We'll go to Atlanta twice this year in both configurations on the platform. This is perhaps the more challenging of which to keep up with the front of the field. And the Octane Series already got its test drive with Jacob Fife getting the job done just over 2 weeks ago. Tonight, however, he'll be facing off against 49 others, and we'll see whether or not he can come back to victory lane against a star-studded field. I'll be your host for tonight's broadcast. I'm David Kreutz, commentating and producing, and currently 3 minutes remain on the timing sheets for drivers to set their fastest laps. It looks like Ethan Lane, who won last week's event, is already up to the top of the board as we take a look downstairs. Tim Rogers, one of the many who's now backing down from his qualifying run at the pole position by 27 one-thousandths of a second. That is Ethan Lane, and then he'll have DJ Stagner right behind him, and you'll have a new driver, Hutton Matulenis, brand new. It's his first time driving in this league, and he's already gotten up to the front 2 rows. We'll see how long he lasts there as drivers such as Joe Dinsmore now back it down. Dinsmore no longer on his way. Brian McFerrin, however, going for a quick qualifying run. And McFerrin is coming across the line, his first lap putting him 28th on the order, so looking to improve this time through. Vinny Tigner gets up to P28 himself. That'll drop McFerrin down 2 places. And now Cal Filarski going on his way. That's the number 39. Still waiting on some strong competitors, including Brandon Bernhardt and Blake Cannon now, and additionally Tom Wetmore, the number 69, but multiple rookies making their first start tonight, limiting the field size ever so slightly, and we haven't had many opportunities to do that before, but it's going to add that increasing challenge of even making it into the dance. Now the best of the best are those who prevail. Tom Wetmore, Daytona pole sitter in the Ignite Series and race winner in the Octane Series, coming across the line. And it's going to put Tom Wetmore 38.05. That'll be good for a mid-pack start, 28th. Nearly smack in the middle of your 50-plus car field now with 1 minute and 11 seconds left on the board. Cole DeRosiers is not taking the time yet. He's got a brand new paint scheme on today. Looks like the number 27 of Blake Cannon will be the last man standing on track, and he's taking his hot lap right now. We'll see what Blake can do here as he goes through turns 3 and 4. Down to the inside, but not getting down all the way to the paint. He'll pull some good momentum through as he comes across the line. The number 27, that's good for a 30.679, a lap time that puts him right between Sam Nieto and Brent McClendon. 13th place on the order, and Cannon is just outside the top dozen. Tom Wetmore still taking practice laps here, but the rest of the field, for better or for worse, have taken their times. Gael Brooks will be the last man with a lap set. He'll be 44th as it stands tonight, and it looks like he'll have to come from the back of the field up if he wants a chance to compete. Less than 15 seconds now on the clock, and qualifying has effectively concluded. And that means that for the second week in a row, we know that that number 6 team is starting up in front. Welcome back to the pole position, Ethan Lane, looking for 2 consecutive victories in the Monday night fight. His quick time, a 30.551. Good for pole position by 27 one-thousandths of a second. Ethan Lane not able to come away with the victory last week in the Octane Series. He came home on the podium, of course. Podium steps in second. Scott Eckridge getting a surprising, albeit dominant, victory at the Circuit of the Americas. So watch out for Eckridge at those road courses as the season goes on. Not in this race tonight, but he's proven to be a Tuesday night threat. Keep good notice of. Michael Stroll for Domination Intimidation Racing getting on the way here. He's in the fight for top 5 in points as it stands, and it looks like many of the veterans quick to get on track. Now we have a little bit of time before we go racing again. 5 minutes in between. Let's get to know your starting grid. It's a big one, and it is filled with talent. Inside of row number 1, of course, it's going to be the man we mentioned before in Ethan Lane. Lane grabs the pole position, and he's there with the top spot, 30.551. over outside pole sitter DJ Stagner. Third place getting up there is Jared Davis, and the rookie Hunter Matalenis, his very first Integrity Racing League start. Thomas Bresci goes 5th, and Matthew Funhorst goes 6th. JTM teammates starting in the Super 6 tonight alongside one another for row 3. Row 4 honors see Daytona winner Jack Drucker and Matt Press, with Ronnie Osmer, P3 in the point standing, starting inside the top 10. And then you'll have Tim Rogers, Michael Stroll, and Nick Tarbuck. These are the guys who are going to round out your top dozen, with Tarbuck, of course, P12. Then from there, you're going to see a few more familiar faces. 13th, Blake Cannon. 14th, Sam Nieto. 15th, Brent McLennan. And Sebastian Miller, 16th, with Chad Mikas, Gavin Fitzgerald, and then from there, Rob Ackley, Tyler Hensley rounding out the top 20. You'll have defending champion coming back into the mix. That's Braxton Weiss for 21st, Nicholas Ward, Elliot Henderson, Cole Freilich, and just after him, the driver of the 13, Blake Gordon for the top 25. Cody Smith, Michael Araya, Josh Christman, and Tom Wetmore with Joe Dinsmore make up the rest of the top 30. Then from there, you're going to have Josh Gallagher, Vinny Tigner, Daniel Foss, Brian McFerrin, Jacob Fife, and Robert Panko. The final guys in the top 40 with Cal Filarski, Brandon Bernhardt, Don Runkle, Don Stevenson, and Tanner Tallarico top 45. Going to be Casey Shue. After him, Scott Eckridge, Gael Brooks, Kyle Cooper, Ryan Potter, Andrew Hamilton, and the final rookie on the day, Steve Durham, making up your 50-car grid here in Atlanta. Another big field, but a little bit of a smaller track. We'll see if there's enough room for everyone. All 50 of them as they are set to go green now within 2 minutes. And not only that, talent, of course, and quantity, but you got to think about that quality. So many race winners coming back, and when you think about it here, Blake Cannon, Tanner Tallarico, Tom Wetmore and company, even if these drivers, some of them do indeed have that Integrity Racing League experience, we've seen drivers like, say for instance, Jared Davis or Tallarico outside in the sim racing world. Some of these drivers have jumped in from the outside looking in. Say for instance, although he's not on the track right now, Vinny Tigner, and a late join for Scott Eckridge, your defending Integrity Octane Series winner. Not on track right now, but you can see that number 70 getting revved up on pit road, setting himself up for the night to come. Sam Nieto right now going to be at the top of the board in the number 2. Nieto proving quick last week in the Octane Series and notably in the Ignite Series. He was also great in Atlanta when the Octane Series went there in the fight for the race win, but Jacob Fife and his surprise number 36 team, they took 2 tires on the final pit stop cycle, and that was the difference between victory and defeat. So Sam Nieto might have to come up with an awkward strategy if he wants to keep up with the rest of these guys. Risk-taking is incentivized, and that's something we've seen before. But Jacob Fife's win, perhaps a little bit of a wake-up call for the entire field. I certainly wasn't expecting it here from the broadcast booth. I don't know if Jacob Fife himself expected it. Jacob made it work, but it looked like the outright surprising call was the way to go to win, something we might see once again tonight here. Chad Mikas in third. Emphasis on also some rebound races. Chad Mikas trying to get himself back up in the mix. Blake Cannon, he's already got a victory on the campaign, but that number 44 also needs a good race. The 27 tonight, shall we say, as he was the 44 last season. He's looking to get himself a second victory already and a better finish than what we saw out of him in our previous race. With that said, it'll be Sam Nieto, the fastest driver in final practice. His quick time is a 30.648, which, if we compare it to the qualifying order, it would have put him roughly in 9th place overall. showing those racing conditions are going to be a little bit slower than what we saw in qualifying, but that is indeed par for the course in Atlanta. And one big reason for that is the track conditions are changing. Last time we went here, of course, with the Octane Series, we'll mention it again, ambient temperature was pretty similar. Tonight it's going to be 65 degrees Fahrenheit ambient. However, track temp is only coming in at 85 degrees. Compared to the 126 degrees we were dealing with as our starting temperature 2 weeks ago, these drivers have it even better, and we thought it was pretty fair last time around, but they have it better tonight. So won't have to worry all too much about those conditions. In fact, they keep themselves as priority and keep individual strategy in mind. Tire wear will be significantly less as a result, and just about the entire field is lined up now as the iRacing official pace car is ready to get moving. Keep this in mind. We are going back to Atlanta later this year in the early summer months, but it's not going to be the same track you're looking at right now. A big difference is the track surface. It'll still be 1.5 miles, much like what you're seeing on your screen now, but it won't be the exact same. The current Atlanta Motor Speedway is a mini superspeedway package with more than 25 degrees of banking in all four corners and a narrower racing surface. This configuration, which came to life in the late 1990s, 1996 until 2021, is not that. It's worn out, it's bumpy, and it's traditional intermediate action, but with that Atlanta flavor. The heat really pounded in this track in its dying years, and so now drivers are going to have to deal with it big time. It's not an easy circuit. It's very easy to make mistakes, but it all comes down to accountability and balance on the racing circuit. Ethan Lane is one to, of course, have that expertise in both facets. An NASCAR Contender Series driver who came out of that series top 20 and was Coke Series eligible over the offseason, he's once again going to prove his worth with the action of the Ignite Series. And of course, he won last week, bursting on the scene, but don't be surprised if Lane is not your race winner at end of night. Qualifying speed, he's already checked it off, but it's going to take a lot of effort and a lot of laps if he wants to repeat from pole to race win for the second week consecutive. Ethan Lane and DJ Stagner find themselves right beside one another, and it looks like it's about time now for the green flag to drop. Stagner gets it good on the high side, but Ethan Lane's got his own down low. Welcome back to Hampton, Georgia. We are green flag racing in Atlanta in the Monday Night Tour. At the head of the field now, Ethan Lane remains in control. Hunter Matalenis, the rookie, very eager to jump up into the front positions. He's got himself now P2 with DJ Stagner and Thomas Bresci third and fourth alongside one another. Now seeing two abreast for the race lead, Lane is quick to move up top, but he won't be quick to give away position. Instead, he'll find himself locked down low. Matalenis to the race lead for the first time in his career. He'll get his very first ever laps led in only his second and third laps in Ignite Series competition. But even quicker to take that away will be the ever-prominent Thomas Bresci, and why not for that number 24. Thomas now finding himself up to the point. Matalenis about a car length behind, bumper to bumper wise anyway, and it'll be Bresci taking it up in front. Emphasis again for the race leaders on staying ahead and using track position. That's something that's been a very big theme this year, and I think it's going to stay that way with these very high car counts. Matter of fact, a few more than 50 took to the track tonight for registration, but exactly 50 were led on the circuit for this race. So tell you this much, it's a big field, and that's where it becomes troublesome. When you're even stuck in the top 20, you are a full ways away. So imagine being outside of the top 30, 35, or even top 40. It's a task, and it's a challenge, to say the least, to even come up from where Cole Fralick and company are right now in the mid-20s. Can you imagine the effort someone like, say for instance now 40th place Don Stevenson would have to go to get up to the race lead? Right now, it would be nearly unthinkable, but that's the nature of racing in Atlanta and these mile-and-a-halves. Atlanta Motor Speedway, much dissimilar from the previous Pocono or the previous Auto Club or, of course, Daytona. The big issue right now for drivers is racing room is all but gone. Pocono has that long pond super stretch. Auto Club Speedway has banked front straightaway and fast-paced corners and nearly 5 grooves at all times. Daytona, well, it's Daytona. Anyone can get up front. Atlanta, not so much. And this is where the draft becomes a little bit less important, and instead the individual merit of the driver really begins to kick in. That's going to be a common theme, of course, common thread the needle moment all night long for drivers making aggressive moves, and a common theme to see drivers using skill rather than just speed to make their way. Thomas Bressy's going to lie back right now, whether intentional or not. Jared Davis easily makes it by. That'll put Davis up inside the second position. Hunter Magdalenas now finds himself leading. Out of turns 3 and 4, it's going to be the same story, different verse, as Magdalenas so far has gotten himself 5 lead laps in his Ignite Series career. And Hunter coming onto the scene very strong in this Shell Ford Mustang, perhaps the most unexpected of drivers to compete up and in front. All the while, Ethan Lane has fallen entirely outside of the top 10. Remember, however, he did this last week, and he fell outside of leading competition for the majority of the night and came back strong in the second half. Lane right now going to let it happen. He has, of course, right behind him, Nick Tarbuck in the number 29. Sam Nieto just got ahead and away. Double file almost all the way through. And very specific, we talk about this mid-teen section. Matt Press, Chad Mikas, Rob Ackley, Brent McClendon, Cody Smith. All of these drivers here have the potential to go out there and win a race. We've seen it before from many of them, and those who haven't yet, I'm certain they'll try to go for it. Be it Sam Nieto or Michael Araya right now in this pack who have won Octane Series races, or Blake Gordon or Cody Smith or Chad Mikas who have gotten it up front and taken it to victory in the Ignite Series. Now, this is a star-studded field even down to the mid-pack. So don't think that the guys who are a little bit further back, just because they're that far behind, don't have the stuff to win it. It's going to be very challenging to get up front. Yes, that's the case. But it doesn't mean it won't happen. Emphasis on that potential all night long. That's something these guys in the back have to keep in mind. Don't sell yourself short so early, as Sebastian Miller now finds himself leading. Seb up to the front of the field last Thursday night. His teammate, DJ Stagner, getting a victory in the Highline Racing League. And Miller, alongside the Swamp Motorsport crew who have proven dominant, remain 1, 2, 3, 4 in the championship standings after a top 5 from fellow teammate Ryan Potter. Last night, Sebastian Miller, of course, when we talk about last night of Ignite Series racing, he was able to lead a good chunk of laps. Due to strategy alone, he was able to lead just over 20 laps at the Pocono Raceway, holding himself out until the last moment, hoping for a caution to bail out his strategy. Unfortunately, Miller was not able to get the job done, and while his teammate in Stagner pulled away for a 6th place finish, Miller finished in the mid-20s. Certainly not the best place to be for a driver who led a good portion of the race. As such, Miller now going to be on a little bit of a rebound run, it appears. Coming across the line again to lead lap number 13, Sebastian right now keeps a 0.6 of a second gap to Jared Davis, and a healthy advantage at that. Thomas Bressy now facing pressure from the 44, and it looks like the 07. That's going to be Blake Cannon and Hunter Magdalenas, with DJ Stagner backing off for P6 and Michael Stroll in 7th. Overall domination, Intimidation Racing looking for a stronger week than they had last. They were able to pull away with some solid finishes in both the Ignite Octane Series, but it appeared by virtue of quantity. And tonight, bringing the quality back up to the front of the pack, Stroll runs right now in P7. And a little bit further behind, you saw Nick Tarbuck is still fighting inside the top 20. With them, teammates Rob Ackley, and Braxton DeWeese. Chris DeWeese in the chat room right now, of course, bringing the Braxton DeWeese fan club. Thank you for stopping by, Chris. Great to have you back, as it looks like now Braxton's making his move right up top. The number 29, the number 22, the number 25, all of them teammates with the number 1 defending champ. And DIR right now owning this section of the track, although the problem is they're not owning the front, they're owning the middle, at least for now anyway. While Michael Stroll has broken out on a slightly different racing strategy, it looks like now the rest of the team is keeping themselves in formation and catching up to Ethan Lane. Lane now dropping back to 19th place, and he's really conserving his stuff if he's going to go for a late charge. And of course, Ethan Lane, no stranger to such behavior. I think now, real good shot. We're going to see him slowly but surely pivot back up. Fall outside of the top 20 again, even if you're the fastest car on track, is detrimental. And Ethan's got to keep himself buffered right here for fear of losing any more time. The Skull Bandit, Tim Rogers, gets himself up to 16th. The Bandit, we didn't often see it in red during its real-life tenure, notably for drivers such as Harry Gant, known as Mr. September, but that number 80 bringing it back with a fiery red on the side of his Chevrolet Camaro. Rogers, a rookie this season, his first to campaign. It looks like some contact further back. The number 70 involved. That was Scott Eckrich. Eckrich with trouble. He is still on track, and it looks like we are still green. We lost track of Scott there, but he got up in the wall. That was for certain. Take a look now at Scott Eckrich as he gets up inside of the turn 4 wall and ends up plowing through the front straightaway. Very bad news for Eckrich here, and we'll see why it happened. Blocked by Daniel Foss in the 38 and shot hard up to the wall. Lucky not to hit anyone else. As you saw there, his communication blipped out, but he escaped everyone else just by virtue of that, his communication. Eckrich right now going to have to come down to pit road, and while so strong in the Circuit of the Americas race on Tuesday night, now Scott finds himself a back runner as the rest of the field has gotten away. Ronnie Osmer running with Matthew Thunhorse is the battle for 9th place. Even still, Sebastian Miller remains your race leader. Seb Miller in the number 83 is up and in front. Then from there, you're going to have Jared Davis and Thomas Bressi. Same formation, Hunter Mattilenas in 5th place. Looks like Hunter right now very comfortable running up in front, and he's the strongest rookie of the day. Multiple drivers making their first career start, notably Gavin Fitzgerald also running impressively in the 12th position right now. And not to discredit this number 14, he might not be running in the immediate top 5, but already Fitzgerald making an impact in the upper mid-pack. That's a strong run for a guy who's brand new to this. Hunter Mattilenas right now coming in with a 39.30 I rating, as opposed to, of course, Mattilenas here. Fitzgerald coming in with a 39.30, and for Hunter Mattilenas, he's coming in a little bit higher. He's coming in at 5,444. I rating doesn't tend to mean everything in league racing, but seeing right now maybe those discrepancies between the guys who spend all their time on the sim and those who don't. Simply put, although it's a little bit more challenging to practice your way in for race pace in the Ignite Series, qualifying is what counts. And for many drivers today, more than 25 of which they had to go through the gauntlet of qualifying, and we did send a few guys home. 30 drivers are automatically locked in, race in and race out. Those are the drivers who are top 30 in the point standings. So if you find yourself there, you don't have to worry at all about qualifying. Of course, you'd like to qualify up to the top, but you are automatically in the main feature. Whereas the drivers who are 31st on down all have to make their way in by virtue of speed and merit. That's the very hard thing about it. It's a challenging track, of course, Atlanta, and it becomes a little bit more tricky, especially because if you're not able to make your way in on that speed, you are out for the week. That's something that's going to become more prominent as we head out to the short tracks. And that's coming up sooner and sooner on the schedule each passing week. We get up to a circuit like, say for instance, the Milwaukee Mile, 40 drivers. That's the cap. We will not see the entire field come to play as we have all year long. But right now, it looks like that's a full field of 50 pulling in strong. Jared Davis to the inside now. Thomas Bressi This is the battle for second place. Take a ride on board with your man in fourth. That is Blake Cannon. Blake Cannon right now with that number 19 to Jared Davis a little bit closer than Bressie was to Jared. Looks like Thomas pulling through, and he's going to find himself now in second place. All the while, Blake Cannon is getting a little bit closer now to Jared Davis in his all-black Chevrolet Camaro. Coming across the line for lap number 25 here, Hunter Matt Telenis finds himself still in fifth. DJ Stagner 6th, Michael Stroll in 7th, Tyler Hensley 8th, Matthew Thunhorse 9th, and Cole Freilich now in 10th. Ronnie Osmer, who got himself a podium position, racing, of course, at Daytona, is a driver with that real-world experience. And Osmer, who's taken laps in ARCA Menard Series equipment at the Daytona International Speedway, has brought that real-world speed to the sim. He currently finds himself third place in the championship standings, just a single point ahead of Michael Stroll. The difference, while negligible, will prove important as the season progresses, mostly because points, and specifically playoff points, will add up. Stages matter in the Integrity Racing League, and we split these up often by thirds. That's why you see drivers sometimes stay out against their better judgment for the second stint. They instead choose to wait it out, get stint number 1 in their bag, and move on from there. Sebastian Miller right now looks like he's got his full focus on keeping this race lead, maintaining it as much as possible, and currently it appears that Seb will continue to fight as Thomas Bressie gets closer and closer. Jared Davis and Hunter Matt Telenis stay right behind as we come up for lap number 28. Talking a little bit about strategy now. We are 140 laps, of course, on the docket tonight. 70 is the split point. However, I'm not sure if we're going to get there. So we're going to look at 2 strategy calls that drivers could potentially make that'll get them all the way. First is the safe 50. I'm betting that a few drivers in the back half of the field, particularly 30th on down, will go for this regimen. It means they'll go down to about lap 50 for their first pit stop cycle. Then they'll head out on track again for another 50 laps, get back on the way for the final 40, and that will split it pretty evenly, give or take. It'll be a shorter third stint, or they can choose to go for a shorter middle, or even to go in at lap 40 for their very first. But the ideal scenario is what we call the magic number. And when you want to go for a magic number in terms of strategy, you want to split the race smack in 2. So tonight, that'll be lap number 70. The 70-lap marker is ideal. If drivers can make it all the way there without any trouble, then we'll see a one-stop strategy race, and that's something we always love to see. But it all comes down to whether or not these guys can fuel save. We've seen 60-plus lap runs before. 70 is very challenging even for the most meticulous of fuel savers. Gavin Fitzgerald there just got ever so slightly up into the wall. Looks like the 14 is just fine. A minor scrape, if anything. Gavin Fitzgerald toe-to-toe now with the number 22. That, of course, Rob Ackley. Ackley knows what it's like to win at these intermediates, but his last win at a 1.5-mile track came all the way back at Kansas in the winter of 2023. Or shall we say the fall. It was just before the end of the season. We went into November in the playoffs, but all things considered, Rob Ackley burst onto the scene and got the first ever playoffs Ignite Series win. Rob Ackley is a man of many a first. The number 22 got the first ever Daytona win and the first ever series win in Ignite competition. And of course, with that first playoff win, he found himself an early championship favorite. He almost got the first ever road course win. It could have came at the Watkins Glen International Circuit, but he came third that day, just behind Thomas Bressie and the dominant JTM crew. Ackley was the fastest man on track for the final 10 laps, just wasn't able to get the job done when it all came through. Back to the mile and a halves anyway, it looks like a little bit of a split compared to his teammates. However, for Ackley's sake, it's a positive split. He's moved away from 20th in Braxton DeWeese, 21st in Nick Tarbuck, and Chad Mike is further on back in P30. Now finds himself very far, 32 laps in. Looking up and ahead, Blake Cannon and Thomas Bressie now going to be going at it. While Jared Davis couldn't hang on, looks like no other could. It'll be now Blake Cannon looking for the fight. Let's see what he can do here in that number 27. Cannon getting a little bit closer, inch after inch, 10th after 10th. It'll be Thomas Bressie now leading the way in his Exalta Chevrolet Camaro. But it looks like, slowly but surely, with Cannon getting closer, we might just see a true battle for the race lead. Meanwhile, in third place, Hunter Matsalenis has gotten himself up from outside the top 5 all the way back up to the point. Still no sign of a dormant Ethan Lane. Finds himself right now in 19th place. The qualifying king of his last 2 starts is once again laying low-key to start another race. Whether or not he's doing that with intent or if he just can't find the long-run speed, very tricky to tell until the race comes into its dying cycle. Lane is very good at deception in this respect. If you're not thinking about him, you might race a little bit harder. And we've seen it happen before, drivers making the mistake of not accounting for him. And just like that, he'll come up through the field. Don Stevenson right now is running in 32nd, but make no mistake, he had a wonderful race last week, coming up from 45th to P2. He made up a total of 44 positions on the night, and with 2 laps to go, he was leading. However, he had a significantly older tire, and that's what did him in. Unfortunately, the 47 only came away with a podium finish, a second-place finish at that, although he put together a masterclass in strategy for a driver who, admittedly, we didn't expect to see up there. He made his way through and got the job done for a podium. 36 laps in out of 140 here. Pit window expected to open at the very minimum of 15 laps from now, and it could be up until 35 laps from here. We see drivers fully make their way in. Thomas Bressie to the outside once again here for Blake Cannon. Cannon shoots low. He's going to dive deep and make it a neck-and-neck race now. Coming down the back straightaway. The 27 of Cannon has a shot, and it looks like he's going to take it. The Exalta Chevrolet. The 24 of Thomas Bressie right up high. Still no dice. And it looks like Bressie just gets away better coming across the back straightaway and into the front. 38 laps in of 140 now. Bressie once again shoots high. And the advantage of that momentum on the high side is interesting to see. Very much so. Now as drivers go up high, it looks like a shift in attitude. Early on, drivers were working the low groove to get that distance optimized. But it looks like now carrying speed is the way to go. Even someone like Blake Gordon right now, not running all the way down to the paint just yet. But the high side seeing more and more prevalent use. That prevalence will perhaps only increase as drivers try to stretch their strategic runs here. Bressie's got the edge, and Cannon's trying to dive for it, but he can't quite get there just yet. Cannon may be slightly better off of 4, but Thomas Bressie has proven once again he's got that defense on lock. And when it becomes a one-on-one like this at the head of the field, it's so different from the opening laps of a race. Even though strategy is still relying on that early start, right now, things look significantly different. 40 laps in out of 140 here. The 24 Exalta machine still has it up and ahead. DJ Stagner, Matthew Thunhorst, Michael Stroll, furthermore, will battle it amongst themselves for a top 10 performance. Michael Stroll has gotten himself into this picture, and it looks like the number 3 doing better than even Rob Ackley in the number 22 here. 2 DIR guys up inside the top 5. You got JTM and Matthew Thunhorst and leader Thomas Bressi. The battle of the teams continues on, but right now for Cannon, one of the independent guys, he's still giving him all he can and then some. Work cut out for the 24. Jack Drucker getting up to 10th, by the way. Drucker did not have the best of starts in that Minute Maid Lemonade, number 56. Jack qualified, of course, 7th, but we saw him fall back outside the top 10 pretty early. Now it looks like a good rebound to get back up in here for the fight for the single digits. Drucker already having that win under his belt is an amazing thing to have as a rookie. Now, he just has to capitalize on saving himself from here. The Minute Maid machine runs P10. Seb Miller now finds himself 11th. And it looks like there's Elliott Henderson also in the mix here. Henderson fighting again with Sebastian, and this could be for the top 10. Ronnie Osmer on looking, but it looks like now, new race leader, Blake Cannon shooting low, and this time there's no denying that number 27. Coming across the back straightaway, Bressi with a little bit more momentum, but it won't be enough to clear for Blake Cannon. Cannon tried low. He was blocked quickly by the quarter panel of the 24 in Bressi. Thomas takes it right back down bottom side. Contact for the first time. Cannon has to watch out here. At long last, he's gotten something to stick, something to work out compared to his race rival in Thomas Bressi. But when it comes to Thomas Bressi, time and again, he is not an easy driver to go up against. And he's proved it once more. Thomas is staying on the back end right now, the 27. But if one of them fizzles out here, it's going to be sailing free into the next strategy run. Blake Cannon right now has the minor advantage, but if any of them push too hard, it's going to show in the next few laps. Even the advantage that Cannon has could fall right back down on Bressi's hands. Although so far, relatively speaking anyway, he looks pretty strong. Tyler Hensley in that number 5, he's also going to be running pretty good. Hensley again missing the entirety of the 2024 season, and he's come back in good spirits. 8th place as it stands. Impressive to see Tyler Hensley doing big things in his grand return season of 2025 from 20th up to 8th. The second biggest mover inside of the top 10. Tied for first is Elliott Henderson from 23rd to 10th on the day. And of course you have 13th up to P1, Blake Cannon. And those gains, both more than 10 apiece. At the front of the field and smack for 10th. That's Henderson, but look at who he's ahead of. From 19th up, Ethan Lane is now looking to enter the top 10 again, and it looks like Elliott Henderson, unless he defends, will be the door open in just one lap. Ethan Lane making it close, and he's got himself perhaps the best saved equipment on track. Ethan to the high side, good for another pass. 10th place for Ethan Lane. Now the fight begins. And that is the quintessential Ethan Lane strategy. While the leaders fight each other hard up at the front of the field, watch out. He's not in frame yet, but he has proven quicker lap after lap. He was 0.2 of a second quicker that time by than leaders Bressi and Cannon, independently anyway. And it looks like at that rate he would catch up within the next some 25 laps. And with just enough time from here to lap number 70, that is not an impossible task. Number 6 of Lane, he's got his work cut out for him, but it looks like right now he undeniably knows what to do. And the Ethan Lane strategy call back in action. All the while, Cannon and Thomas Bressi fight against each other. Take a watch a little bit further behind, you'll see DJ Stagner here. He finds himself independent in P5. Stagner coming up, of course, across a strong week last time he went racing in the Highline Racing League and the Ignite Series. On FTN Broadcasting last week, he was able to go for an average finish of 3.5, 6th place when he went at it in the Integrity Ignite Series at Pocono. And when the Highline Racing League took him back, he used those lessons to go from 3rd to 1st in the final lap going right under the 41 of Roberto Ramirez for the race win. That, of course, got Stagner his first victory of the season, and, of course, the third consecutive for Swamp Motorsports, who have been dominating so far, of course, off the back of their new star driver in Roberto Ramirez, of course, being the 41, but the number 7 of Lucas Lodano. Stagner, of course, making himself the star last week. Now it looks like he's doing more of the same. 5th place within a second of your race leader. And so long as he hangs on to the back end of this coming battle, he might be up there with the 0-7 of Hunter Matalenis. Hunter right now runs 4th, but he just got passed by a driver on new rubber. That is Ronnie Osmer. And Osmer, one of the first to bite. And he's right now in 43rd, but that's by virtue of heading down a pit road. And he's going to show already what those new tires can do. Osmer goes right by Bresci and Cannon like they were standing still, and that's the beginning of that safe 50 bracket. If the magic number doesn't work out, drivers can already look to head down a pit road, and it looks like Blake Cannon is going to do just that, splitting this race up into thirds. Blake Cannon heads down and in. There goes Cole Freilich, as does Brian McFerrin, and you're starting to see the safe strategy put into play by the number 27. Cannon makes his move in. Bresci left out there with the race lead. Let's see if that was the right call, as it looks like still your entire top 10 put together with drivers who have not opted in just yet. $52 out of 140. One driver diving down and in dramatically. That was the 96 of Josh Gallagher. And Bresci stays out. Your top 25 in consecutive order have all decided to stay out on the circuit. 28th on down, all consecutively, have decided to come down and in. You're starting to see that split in strategy calls as Blake Cannon gets back on the way. Even still, Jared Davis, Hunter Matalenis, DJ Stagner, Matthew Thunhorst, Michael Stroll, and company further on back. Well, they're all there, and here comes the number 24. Now your race leader opts in. That's the number 24 of Thomas Bresci making his move. Bresci opts in, and he'll take with him Blake Gordon in the number 13. As Gordon heads through, Daniel Foss heads out. Jared Davis inherits the race lead. Davis now leads Matalenis, and it looks like the rookie's got a fair shot to take the race lead once again. Jared is going to drop down and in on lap number 54, and the quest continues to see who stays out the longest. Matthew Thunhorst, Michael Stroll all come in one at a time, and here we have it. Matalenis, your race leader, up to the point. DJ Stagner, Ethan Lane, Tyler Hensley, and now diving low, Elliott Henderson with contact. Lane shot up the circuit. 3 wide for a brief moment, but luckily everyone comes away unscathed. That's going to drop Lane further back, as it does Tyler Hensley. Matthew still on pit road. Brandon Bernhardt getting on the way. That's the 81, of course. And it looks like now the 16, that's Andrew Hamilton, makes his move as well. Hunter Matalenis, new race leader. The rookie's back on top again, and it looks like he's getting his fair share of time in the sun for a first-time driver. DJ Stagner finds himself P2 as a result of this ordeal. Stagner, Hensley, Lane, Nieto, Ackley, Stevenson, Press, Laraya, Casey, Shu. The top 12 are all out. Going back now to the number 71 of Gael Brooks. Brooks, the last man standing on his old rubber. He finds himself last of the 12 drivers who have done so. Watching out, of course, for Ethan Lane here. Lane now comes in, as does Don Stevenson and Matt Prest. That's going to bring in 3 drivers at once. And a notable in Ethan Lane, he decides to wait a little bit longer than some of his contemporaries at the front of the field. We'll see whether or not that is a great move, or if it's all for naught in the next coming laps. Matalenis in the 0-7. It looks like at long last, he too will concede and bring with them DJ Stagner. Stagner looking to take that race lead at the line, but he can't do it. And so Sam Nieto now has it ahead. Nieto's got a small circle of guys to work with now. Sam is one of the slowest drivers on the track, and while he's got the race lead, that track position doesn't look like it's going to be a total saving grace. As a matter of fact here, it looks like the number 2 of Nieto is now dropping back to guys like the number 96. Of course, that's going to be Brooks. Then you got the 13 of Blake Gordon, and there's the number 14, the brand new driver, another rookie in Fitzgerald. To the inside, Sam Nieto drops in. Hensley, Ackley now on their way. And it looks like at long last, Ethan Lane has not only gotten down to pit road, but he has completed his service. Nieto's in, Laria's in. Casey Shue also is in, but with a little bit of pit stop trouble there. And you can see now he's going to fade back. Cody Smith in the number 18 is set to inherit the race lead, but as he comes across the line, it looks like it will be instead Blake Cannon getting it up to the front. Cannon playing the strategy game, at least in the short term, just about as good as it gets. Blake in the number 27 now up to the head of the field. Thomas Bressi just behind. Now the fight begins, as it did before, between the 27 and the 24. 59 laps in out of 140, and Thomas Bressi is playing catch-up again to Cannon in the 27. Your first pit cycle has effectively come to a close here, and DJ Stagner, one of the guys who's made some notable moves. DJ finding himself up now to 6th place, 2.5 seconds back on leader Cannon. And again, the man of the hour in the Octane Series who finished that race off with unbelievable strength. Jacob Fife, sometimes an unpredictable driver, but oftentimes unpredictable in a very good way. He's one of the veterans, and when we say veteran, we don't mean 3 or 4 years of racing with the Integrity Racing League. As its league owner, he's been here for every one of our 13 years in competition, and if you look back to the very oldest tapes of this league in action, he's been a winner since 2012. One of the very early broadcast tapes goes back to the fall of 2012, where the Integrity Racing League went to the USA International Speedway, at which track Jacob Fife collected one of his first ever victories. He was strong last time we went there, which was last year on the Ignite Series calendar, but he was denied a victory by eventual top dog and defending champion. That was, of course, Braxton Deweese. Jacob already has come off strong in the Tuesday night tour, where he now holds, well, a total of 5 modern era wins, but it looks like the Ignite Series hasn't come to him as natural. He has 2 wins on the campaign in the Ignite Series from last year, but otherwise, both 2023 and 2025 have been winless. Of course, the only one he can change right now is the current year, and in 25, he's looking for his first victory on the Monday Night Tour. Blake Cannon leads currently by half a second. Keep your eyes peeled, of course, for Ethan Lane, another driver, of course, who's been up and down. But from your pole sitting position down to 19th, I highly doubt that Ethan is going to sit back and relax, especially on this middle stint. This stint is going to prove perhaps the most important of all. And I think that mainly comes because you have to either shorten this stint or shorten the final stint, and drivers deciding which to go for will be critical. Either go for a 50-lap run this time by and get up to lap 100, or instead go for something a little bit different. And that, of course, is going to be deciding to go for a 50-lap run to end it. No guarantees just yet, and it looks like right now, at least as we see it, we can't really tell. Everyone playing their best poker faces as they get things started. Nevertheless, Blake Cannon finds himself race leading here. Thomas Bressi and Elliott Henderson now second and third. Strong start, of course, here for that number 37 Henderson. Elliott going 3 wide here, taking to the inside. That is Jared Davis. Davis making his move, and that pass puts him up inside the podium, passing Henderson and Gordon all at once. Question remains, 65 laps in out of 140 here. What can be done past halfway? So far, Blake Cannon's had it made on this brand new run, but that doesn't mean it's going to stay the same. And as a matter of fact, with Thomas Bressi coming close, We'll see whether or not the 27 of Cannon goes for the dogfight maneuver and fights with Bresci, or instead, if he decides to play it back and wait for the tires to save themselves. With Ethan Lane already up to 13th place, that is why tire saving is critical. He's made it up 6 places in less than 5 laps, and if that pace continues, then it looks like he's going to find himself in the race lead very soon. But that's only if he can keep that wonderful pace up. He is still 7 seconds behind, and it looks like right now, while he's down, he is certainly not out. That's the big thing about Ethan Lane's game. It doesn't look like he's at the front of the field to start things, and he might not be there at the midpoint, but he had that pole position for a real reason. He's looking to finish it off strong, exactly as he did last week in Pocono Raceway. Blake Cannon, Thomas Bresci, Jared Davis, still your 1, 2, 3. Then from there, you'll have Hunter Matt Telenis looking 10th as he fights alongside now to the inside of him, Nicholas Ward. Ward, a lapper in this circumstance, won't mean all too much in that number 97. He will fall back in line as Gavin Fitzgerald now goes at it with the 29 of Nick Tarbuck here. Fitzgerald across the line has scored him 16th. If he makes this spot up, he'll be P15. Take a ride on board now with your brand new race rookie. Currently, Fitzgerald making his moves to get up inside the top 15. Ethan Lane looking to make his moves to get up inside of the top 10. Nicholas Ward for the 10th spot and DJ Stagner for 9th. Now, Ward found himself a lapper previously. He's gotten back on cycle as a result of the pit stop timing. Coming toward the second half here, led still by Blake Cannon, but Ethan Lane is showing slowly but surely he's going to be there, and he's going to be there for the long haul. 70 laps to go, this time by, it is still Cannon and Bresci, your 1-2 combination. Jared Davis is 3rd, Elliott Henderson is 4th, and Blake Gordon now finds himself 5th. Running to the inside as Elliott Henderson is beside him again. Matthew Thunhorse here, more the same on the number 8 machine. He finds himself tucked right down low. And it looks like right now, Henderson staying with, coming across the stripe once again. 69 laps to go here. And it's going to be Thunhorse diving deep. Looking for a top 5, at least for the time being. And these guys are all on the bubble of just that. DJ Stagner, moreover, finds himself now in the fight to stay in the single digits because it's official. Ethan Lane has moved up to the top 10, and he's got to make room. Stagner now boxed up with lappers Hamilton and Daniel Foss, and that means that Lane can make a real nice move, cleanly cutting up to the middle. Now looking for room on Hamilton. He'll go up high and leave Hamilton in the dust and DJ Stagner alike, only if he gets a good run up top here. Washing up ever so slightly, still looks to be in control, Ethan Lane, but DJ Stagner coming in for a critical block, but it won't be enough to pacify that number 6. Lane in line, and he won't give in just yet. Michael Stroll with 68 laps to go goes up to the high side once again on the rookie of Matt Telenis. This will move him back into the 8th place if Michael Stroll completes the pass. So far, it looks like he is just about halfway there. Hasn't quite gotten through completely. He would like to, but it still hasn't happened. Double fight with Thunhorse and Blake Gordon. Then you got Matt Telenis and Henderson. Lastly, Michael Stroll and DJ Stagner. Ethan Lane finds himself now watching this. And we'll take it inside the cockpit to show you a little bit more about what's going on for the drivers as they work with their telemetry, of course, and they work with racing conditions. Take a listen through turns 1 and 2. Ethan Lane off the throttle ever so slightly. Nothing significant, but he puts the power back down as fast as he can. And it's all about that throttle timing tonight. Not a lot of use of the brakes if you're working the track very well. If you're, of course, minding your equipment and keeping that, of course, in your conscience, then you should be able to good to go just off throttle. And that's how Ethan Lane is propelling himself so quickly, not trying to put any intentional halts to his momentum unless absolutely necessary. And right now for the number 6 machine, he'll duck down low once again. Lane 5 seconds back of race leader Cannon, and he's in the thick of this second pass. 5 seconds to make up with more than 50 laps remaining seems doable, but even for Ethan Lane here, he's in a tricky circumstance. He's going to be boxed out by some of the best drivers on the racetrack tonight, some of which who have already led laps, and even then, your leaders in Cannon and Bresci are quite a ways away here, and that's not something you can make up arbitrarily. There's the 24 of Thomas Bresci, the 27 of Blake Cannon, 64 laps to go, and counting down even still, have Jared Davis and then some just behind. Davis and Matthew Thunhorst acting as the intermediaries here, but you can see that Thunhorst is almost 3 full seconds behind Jared Davis. And even then, Davis is nearly 2 full seconds behind the race leaders in Cannon and Bresci. So there's some major discrepancies even at the front of the field tonight. Just because the driver's up there in the podium doesn't mean they're in the fight for the lead. It has become a 2-horse race. At the front, Cannon and Bresci. Ethan Lane is going to have to work his tail off to even make it a 3-man fight. But it is still possible. DJ Stagner here is going to keep him blocked up real well. DJ defending his spot. This is for 7th place. Up to the top side goes Blake Gordon. Nice to see Blake Gordon, of course, getting his good runs in. Gordon is a fast driver all around, looking for some redemption at these smaller circuits. He and DJ Stagner having an iconic battle to finish off action at the Nashville SuperSpeedway. Final lap, turn 4. Cannon, of course, he was. And we're saying that as a little bit of a pun to Blake's, but in this case, Gordon was the Cannon. He shot up high to the outside of turn 4, scraped the wall badly, and dove down to barely collect 4th place. Meanwhile, DJ Stagner, calm and collected, able to take it through. He won that event. He was able to get the job done over the rest of the field that day. His first win of the season. So Stagner again making a move there on Blake Gordon. That'll put him up into the 6th. Hunter Matalenis and Matthew Thunhorst might be the next 2 on his calendar of passes. And that would be up to as high as 4th place. DJ Stagner keeps the good times rolling. No guarantees just yet. Let's talk about your top 10. I'd like to thank, of course, our partners at SimMotion and Next Level Racing for bringing you the action tonight. Leader Blake Cannon and 2nd place Thomas Bresci, positions 1 and 2 respectively. 3rd place will be Jared Davis, and Hunter Matalenis will be 4th in his very first start, with Matthew Thunhorst 5th, DJ Stagner 6th, Ethan Lane in 7th, and Blake Gordon 8th. It'll be Michael Stroll P9 and Elliott Henderson rounding out the top 10 with 60 laps to go. Covered tonight live on FTN, brought to you again by our sponsors, and we'd like to thank both of them for their amazing support and gratitude for the entire Integrity Racing League program. First and foremost, let's talk about Next Level Racing. They've been with us since the beginning, and we're going to talk about them once again for good reason. Next Level Racing provides high-quality sim racing performance products for dedicated sim racers who deserve nothing but the best. Yellow flag is out for the first time tonight. We'll talk to you a bit more about our sponsors and such after we figure out just what happened here. Caution is out. And here's a look back to figure out what just caused it. Looking overhead on the circuit, front straightaway looked to be rather clean with drivers making their way through, but for the first time all night long, we had trouble. See when that yellow flag signal came out, there's a number 14 of Gavin Fitzgerald. He looked to be just fine. Michael Stroll, moreover. Adam Wood, all the same here. Trying to figure out exactly who was the culprit at the time of the incident. As with 58 laps to go, we are backing it down. There's the answer. Adam Wood involved, but you'll see there another smoking driver. That was Daniel Foss. Yellow flag out, the 38. A primary cause. Take a look. So Daniel Foss facing some trouble in the number 38 here, and this is how it gets started for the number 38 team. He was up at the high side of the wall, contact with Nicholas Ward, and then got shot down the circuit. And as he came back up, contact head-on with Adam Wood, Fitzgerald, and Rob Ackley. Small incident, all things considered. 4 drivers afflicted as the entire field from Blake Cannon on down heads to pit road. Cannon now poised to be your race leader off of pit road, and that is indeed the case. He'll be let off. The number 27 gets away with Thomas Bresci. And third place right behind them, still coming on up. You can see the 27 and 24 in a league of their own. Jared Davis. And your fourth place man, the rookie, Hunter Mactillenis. Time to spare as we are under caution for the first time tonight, live on FTN. That was your second pit stop cycle of the day. And pending any other cautions, that might be the final cycle that we see tonight. We are currently 84 laps in out of 140, which means that we have, give or take, just under 60 laps remaining. We saw drivers stretch as far as 56 laps in the previous cycle. Means that mathematically speaking, drivers can go from here to the very end, play their cards right. Setting up once more, Blake Cannon on the inside, and up top, it'll be Thomas Bresci in the number 24. One lap to green as we go at it again. And it'll be 55 laps remaining officially as we go green. With the entire field put together once more, it is Cannon and Bresci, your front row. Jared Davis and Hunter Mactillenis. Top 4, Super 6 made up with DJ Stagner and Matthew Thunhorst. Its final drivers. Head back at it again, this time by Thomas Bresci up high, but your control car lies on the bottom. First restart of the day, and that is Blake Cannon. And the field is green. First restart on the night. Blake Cannon and Bresci continue their head-to-head battle, but now notably Ethan Lane up to 6. Big wreck, Sam Nieto and company. And the big one in Atlanta, a smoke show. Drivers are still piling in. Caution's out. Take an immediate look back. Trying to figure out what caused it here. Focus on Sam Nieto, one of the guys up in front, as it came to pass. Nieto getting it started in the number 2, or no? Elliott Henderson into Ward, into Nieto. That starts the chain reaction. Second caution of the night, by the way. And then Josh Christman hits the number 2 of Nieto. That sends him up to Nicholas Ward again. Fife tagged in the number 36. And as he goes around, well, there goes everyone else. David Fitzgerald, Michael Araya, Tyler Hensley, Chad Mikas in the mix. Cole Freilich, Vinny Tigner, Brent McClendon, Andrew Hamilton, Ronnie Osmer, the 94 of Boomer Logan, Gael Brooks, Ryan Potter, and Joe Dinsmore. Just to name a few. Don Stevenson, too. More than 10 drivers involved in this one. Braxton Weiss slides in as well. Looks like Sebastian Miller also gets a piece. Take a ride on board from at least one perspective through this replay, and maybe it'll give us a better understanding of how it was inside the cockpit. Here it is with the 25 of Chad Mikas. And coming to a standstill with so many other drivers. Usually, unlike this field and unlike the racing we've seen at intermediates, but it looks like a major implosion. That's going to be a deal breaker for many drivers in their fight for the race win. And as the field heads back to green, it'll be about time that we see 50 laps to go, and in fact, under that. Before we head back at it, however, we'll take a brief break and thank our partners and associates live on FTN. You're watching coverage from the Integrity Ignite Series here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Stay tuned as all our coverage is brought to you with overtime footage and, of course, non-stop footage. Whiplash sim cams. We'll be right back after this. Blake Cannon and Thomas Bressy, your top two. Stay tuned.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
51 laps to go officially as we go green. It'll be Blake Cannon and Thomas Bressy, first and second. Second time tonight, Cannon, your restart leader. Let's see what he can do with it. Notable gains? Well, it looks like Ethan Lane still going to be sitting in sixth, but relative to where he was before that yellow flag, some big gains. Not in position by numbers anyway, only gained about 2 spots, but some critical ones. Notably, only right behind Stagner, ahead of Matthew Thunhorst and Blake Gordon. And so the green flag will fly once more. Blake Cannon finding himself race leader again. A little bit of a squeal off the tires of Thomas Bressy, but everyone gets away just fine. Sailing up top, you're going to see Jack Drucker making his way through in that number 56. Michael Stroll right there with Hunter Matulanis. And the 56 now going to find himself in company with the leaders again. Hunter dives to the inside, as does Michael Stroll to the outside here, splitting up, and we'll see what these two drivers can do. Jared Davis facing big pressure, but even more so now, Ethan Lane to the inside of both Thomas Bressy and DJ Stagner. This is for second, and now to the inside, the number 6 of Lane. Ethan Lane now sitting, give or take, a 10th and a half behind leader Cannon. Blake is not too far ahead, and it looks like for the time being here, he's only getting closer to being reeled in full. Time remains until we see exactly what happens, but it looks like now it's going to be side by side. Can Cannon hold off? Does he have any opportunity to do so? Or is it now all time for the number 6 of Lane to make things happen? To the inside, Lane looks once and can't quite get it. Now he'll lie back again. 49 laps to go. Jared Davis, Hunter Matulanis still fighting further on back here. We'll see what happens from here, but it looks like the top 5 battle is a little bit closer now than even your race lead. Brent McClendon getting up inside the top 10, even though he was involved in that most recent incident. Looks like the damage was minimal and superficial at that, and now he's got a perfect opportunity to get himself in the top 10. McClendon has been running inside the top 20, give or take, the entire night. With a few more drivers getting cleared away, now is a perfect opportunity again to make it up in front. McClendon behind Drucker, and a side-by-side fight now between Drucker and the rookie in Matulanis. Hunter down to the inside, Drucker keeping it up top. Blake Gordon also entering the picture here. Watch out for that number 13. He heads up high, and it looks like now he'll have a chance to dive through. The 07 of Matulanis gives him room on the middle. And now, coming across the stripe, the 13 of Gordon catching up to the other Blake in Cannon, and you got two Blakes inside the top 10, both in the single digits. Gordon up to 8th. Ethan Lane runs P2, and while he was able to make that initial charge and get himself right up to the 27 of Cannon, now he'll fall back again, and I'm starting to wonder whether or not these maneuvers are intentional as Thomas Bressi takes it right by. For 24 now getting a shot to fight for the race lead himself. Cannon watching back. Blake and Ethan Lane both looking for their second wins of the year. Thomas Bressi would be looking for his first. A no-doubt leader, Blake Cannon. He's got a lot of competition tonight. Undeniable, of course, but it looks like for the time being, he is up and ahead. Whether or not now drivers behind him are deciding to lay back, let him burn his stuff, or if they have the stuff to even go out there and compete, remains the big what if. 45 laps to go becomes 44 laps remaining. DJ Stagner gets up to 3rd. Ethan Lane right now slowly but surely trotting back. It looks like he's got time now to wait. And as he bides his time, he will watch ever so intently as the field ahead of him decides to push. I think right now that Lane is hedging his bet on going the distance. A yellow flag would be fine. It really wouldn't mean all too much for him, but he's hedging his bet on seeing drivers burn themselves out in his final 40-some lap stint. And as they do so, he'll be able to pick them back off one at a time, and that will be the route to victory for the number 16. If there is one tonight, it looks like it's going to come down to just being meticulous on that offensive in the very final laps of this race. Blake Gordon, side by side here. You see Jack Drucker, Brent McClendon, more of the same. And it looks like now these two keeping company. We heard a motor blow. It's a big one for Braxton Deweese. The number 1 of Deweese goes around, 3rd yellow of the day, and the 43 looks like he's not involved, but the number 1 drops far outside the top 20. Taking a look back now for Deweese. As your defending champ finding trouble and contact with the 14, Gavin Fitzgerald, both sent down the circuit. Watch from one more angle here to give you a little bit more context. As the race rookie and the defending champ find each other, this time around it's bad news for both. We'll have less than 40 laps to go when we go green. Take a look at this. 14 up high, got in the wall, tried to shoot back down, took Braxton Deweese with them, and finished off there with Brandon Lambert's assistance. Big damage. 14 of Fitzgerald and the number 1 of Deweese facing significant front-end troubles, and that might be permanent engine damage for the rest of the night here as everyone comes down to pit road again. Lane stays out. Rest of your field, however, looks like now I'm going to change up the strategy. Thomas Bressi looking to get himself on the way out here in the number 24. He'll be following Blake Cannon again. DJ Stagner will be 3rd and Jared Davis 4th. And your 5th man out will be Jack Drucker in the number 56. Ethan Lane and Cody Smith, the only drivers who decided to stay out on the circuit. And it'll be Cannon, your race leader, off. A little bit of time now in between as we'll have less than 40 laps to go when we go green. We'll thank again our partners and associates live on FTN, watching non-stop coverage courtesy of Whiplash SimCams, and that means you won't miss a thing. We'll go back to the full screen action before we go green and bring you some side-by-side playback until that point. With 40 to go this time by, you're watching the Integrity Racing League at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. The Dirty Bird 215 will be right back after this.
Boundless makes its presence felt. It will not be ignored. We're helping turn ideas into reality with a wealth of building products that take every architectural style to the next level. This is what it's like to imagine, build, and transform anything we want into exactly what we seek. This is what it means to be boundless.
Ethan Lane now finds himself retaining control, but that is because he stayed out. Risky call now for the number 6, and 15 laps of tire. He'll attempt to hang on. Old rubber rarely works in this scenario, but if there's any driver to try it, why not be Ethan Lane? Cody Smith also stays up high here. We'll see if he ends up as successful. A big test for these two up in front. Everyone else now on a short strategy stint, which should bring them to the end of this race in one piece. Green flag will fly once again with 39 laps remaining. It'll be Ethan Lane getting away, and the inside significantly better. Blake Cannon watching on the inside, and now he'll dive there for the lead. Cannon immediately to the point now. He'll have himself up and ahead. 3 wide. Thomas Bressi, Jack Drucker, and DJ Stagner. Stagner finds himself middle 3. Drucker to the inside, and Thomas Bressi right up top. DJ's now going to get a little bit more loose than he'd expect in the corner number 3. Fade back, and we'll be still inside the top 10 now. Doesn't want to give away stuff. 64 has gotten himself a real good race going, as high as the podium previously. As a matter of fact, up there fighting to lead some laps. But tonight has been a story of the 27 and the 24. While Ethan Lane has remained strong all night long, he has not been able to lead the laps and have the caliber of long-term pace that we've seen out of Cannon and Thomas Bressi as well. No doubt about it. We're expecting Ethan Lane to remain quick here, but he now finds himself in an even trickier position where he does not have the tires to hang on. With some 37 laps to go, he would run more than 50 laps on this set of tire if we go all the way, and he would have to come down for an emergency pit stop, sacrificing all of his track position if we have another caution. So, unfortunately, it's a little bit of the worst of both worlds right now for that number 6. Lane finds himself competitive, but he's only losing time and losing position. Bottom 3 wide puts Lane into 8th, and now Tom Wetmore and Brent McClendon alike are looking to make it a top 10 run. To the inside, Michael Stroll will save it down to the grass. Barely getting himself back together as he comes up on the circuit. Michael Stroll finding himself drifting down and in, only to survive, but only just. Talk about a tricky maneuver there for the AC Delco Chevrolet. He's got some backside damage here, but it looks to be minimal, and as long as that front end is good to go, Michael should remain at least relatively competitive here till the very end. 36 laps to go becomes 35 laps to go. Blake Cannon and Jack Drucker remain positions 1 and 2. And it looks like here, Drucker now finds himself smack in the middle of the fight. Bressi and Cannon have been dominant all night long, but if there's anyone who can now flip the script, why not be your Daytona race winner? Cross the line once again. 34 laps to go and continuously counting down. Thomas Bressi, Jared Davis, DJ Stagner, all at the back end of this top 5, all watching Blake Cannon. Blake has found himself as the race leader, perhaps most prominent tonight, and now with Ethan Lane's strategy in jeopardy, it looks like he's only got himself 1 or 2 drivers to face off against, notably Jack Drucker. Drucker right now keeping himself ever so close to that number 27. He's going to work the high side, only to switch back down low to the front straightaway. 33 laps to go. Thomas Bressi, DJ Stagner, Jared Davis watching aboard. But now Blake Cannon is beside and behind the 52nd of Drucker. Drucker to the race lead, and now your Daytona race leader is up and in front. 108 laps in, looking to seal the deal for his 2nd career victory. Drucker, turn around, up to the high side of the track. He'll save it, but it'll become significantly slower. Cannon puts the quarter panel into a 45-degree slide. Drucker now finds himself upper mid-pack. Take a look at a replay here, and it'll show you everything. Cannon slid in deep, had an awful lot of momentum here. Drucker, not a great corner. Cannon slid it in, thought he had room, and it looked like he did, but an amazing save nevertheless there from the 56 of Jack Drucker. And talk about keeping it on course in pressure. Could have been completely undone by that one. But luckily, of course, 56 hangs tight. But it'll be now the number 19 of Jared Davis with an opportunity. Let's see what he can do here. Thomas Bressing, the 24, about a second off the race lead. No Cannon's contact slow him down at all. Looked like very light contact overall. And that means that even if it was anything of damage for the 56 of Drucker, very likely now that Blake Cannon has what it takes to run away from here. Time is running out, and next time by, it's going to be less than 30 laps to go. Jared Davis, 19, watches on in second. Bressy's third. Tom Wetmore's fourth. Matt Press now up to fifth. DJ Stagner, Brent McLennan, Hunter Matulenas, 6th through 8th here. Michael Stroll remains in the top 10, running last spot in the single digits there, P9. Elliott Henderson dives deep in the number 37 here. He's to the inside right now in the Toyota Supra. Henderson looking to get himself in the single digits once again. Hasn't quite gotten there so far, but it looks like now a real shot as he stays toe-to-toe with Michael Stroll. And that's the wonderful part of the Integrity Racing League, and what we've seen in the Ignite series so far is no exception. The drivers were inside the top 10. Any one of them could win. But it all comes down to their execution to see which one should, which one does. So many of these drivers are so similar to each other on pace that the only way to really separate them is by giving them more than 100 laps to duke it out. Matt Preston, number 60, holds fort. 28 laps to go, coming to 27 here. The 60 of Press is now in the middle of the top 10. It's something we haven't seen from him all night long. Although he's been fast, he's largely been working the bottom half of the top 10. 8th up to 5th. Significant problems for the number 60, of course, in maybe keeping it up there in the first half. But he's been able to recover strongly, and now there might be even a shot at a top 3 finish. Not if DJ Stagner takes it away, though. Now the 64 goes to the inside. Stagner for the race lead, of course. Fight for 5th anyway. He's looking to lead it. Blake Cannon, however, has the overall race lead, and he has it now by a controlling 0.7 of a second margin. It looks like there's no stopping that number 27 in Blake Cannon any longer, and the only way to get up to him would be to keep on reeling him in. So far, though, he's shown no signs of weakness and has only extended his gap from here. Cannon is looking indomitable now in the tail end of this race. Thomas Bressy remains 3rd, but he's watching as Cannon now is looking to finish the job and find his 2nd race win of the season. And it won't be easy, but it looks like again he's putting that pace to the test. The rest of the field can't quite keep up. Thomas Bressy still top 3, and it's a surprise to see admittedly a little bit of falling back for the driver here in this number 24. Bressy was toe-to-toe with Blake Cannon for the better part of 50-plus laps, and it looks like rather than staying right there with him, instead you're starting to see a little bit of a downturn for Bressy. Still going to be 3rd, and still convincingly inside the podium, yes, but even then, it looks like not as convincing to fight for the race win, unless there is a significant problem, of course, for the driver ahead. 24 laps to go this time by. Braxton Deweese on the bottom side of the track, still trying to putter around and get his extra points in. Now side by side, Bressy and Jared Davis. And if there's life left in this number 24, he is ready to bring it through. 23 laps to go. And Blake Cannon, this time by with 22 to go, remains dominant up in front. As always, with 22 laps to go, we'd like to crank it up, and tonight our friends at Whiplash SimCams are bringing you all the action. We'd like to thank Whiplash SimCams for their continued support in keeping all of our cameras up to date for all of our cars and tracks. Visit Whiplash SimCams on their social media platforms, and of course check out Pit Stop TV on YouTube to learn more about iRacing's newest and most increasingly updated camera platform solution. Tracks and cars sold at $5 a piece, no license necessary, so check them out today. In the dying laps of the Atlanta Motor Speedway here at the Ignite Series, we're going to crank it up unfiltered and unrestrained with 22 laps to go, brought to you by Whiplash SimCams. "17 laps to go, this time by, and as you can see, Blake Cannon has continued to pull away. Matter of fact, a second-plus lead, and it looks like it's been ever extending for the last couple of laps. Thomas Bressi now sits alone in the second place, while Jared Davis finds himself third. Wetmore is fourth, and Matt Press is now P5, but that comes with competition. Hunter Matulanis, a rookie on the rise, making his first ever start, has proven very competitive tonight. That remains the same way. Hero 7 here staying very close. DJ Stagner also going to be watching aboard. Stagner taking 2 steps back to fall outside of the top 5 for now, but it doesn't mean he's going to stay outside of it for long. With 16 remaining and time still to spare, DJ's got a shot to do what he did on Thursday night. Assess the circumstance and drill his way right back up. Such is the nature of a veteran driver. Remember that in the FTN Broadcasting leagues that we cover to this day, Stagner has 2 championships to speak of. Ignite Series Championship in 2023 and one of the very earliest Highline Racing League iRacing Championships. He is, by all accounts, one of the most well-acclaimed drivers we've covered in our respective series. So DJ is a veteran of situational awareness and execution in the clutch. Give him a few laps. I think he's going to be back in the same old position as before. That's going to be an up and up, which means he's only going to gain just a little bit more when it is necessary. 15 to go, coming to 14 laps remaining. Blake Cannon across the line. He's got himself there with 14 laps remaining. All he has to do now is hit his marks, as it looks like Thomas Bressi is not quicker. Hasn't gotten close enough, has remained as strong as possible in running similar laps. But Thomas is not making gains and not taking advantage. And that's his primary problem here. Hunter Matulanis is going to find himself 6th, DJ Stagner 7th, Nick Tarbuck 8th, Elliott Henderson then in 9th, with Matthew Thunhorse finding himself the last man in the top 10 even still. The gap now between 1st and 10th, 4.4 seconds, perhaps the biggest it's been all night long. 13 laps to go. Vinny Tigner also now getting in the mix. Tigner slid in backwards to the big one, just about 50 laps to go. Looks like all of a sudden, well, found himself right back. Tigner goes to the inside, now making a move on Michael Stroll. This is for 11th. A long time coming for Vinny. Last year, of course, a Rookie of the Year contender, top 10 finishes galore. Tonight, he has been working up. 32nd up to 12th, plus 20 on the day. Fantastic gains are being made right now for your SNT League owner. And he is right now doing everything he needs to continue that upward trail. "12 laps to go, coming to 11 here. Blake Cannon looking for his 2nd Ignite Series win. And very quickly, it looks like he's becoming more a Monday night threat than we'd have expected. 1 win last season in both the Mondays and Tuesday nights, and already 1 win to match it this season at Auto Club. This would be his 2nd win of the year, his 4th in the modern era, and his 3rd in the Ignite Series. Just piling on the accolades early, and that will make Cannon a prime championship contender, so long as he just keeps up with his attendance. That's really the big thing when you have multiple wins on the docket. And for Thomas Bressi, while it will be his 2nd podium finish, it looks like, again, it will not be a victory. And that's the hard part. Those victories nearly lock you into the championship race guaranteed. So to miss out on them so close multiple times, it is a heartbreaker. I think that's where Thomas Bressi just has to find that extra edge to bring him back to winning races. By all accounts, one of the best of them in 2023 and 2024. Overall, his consistency has been unmatched by any other driver. And as the Next Level Racing overall champion of 2023 and the 2nd in points in 2024, he is no doubter to watch again. Just hasn't gotten that win yet, but I think right now, it looks like it's about time. 24 goes back at it. Podium sitting is great, but he's going to be looking for a little bit more, especially with those road courses coming up. Jared Davis is still a 1/4 second back. Hunter Matulanis and DJ Stagner now 6th and 7th. It looks like Stagner has not made that upward ascent just yet, and the rookie in the 07 is keeping him honest. Strong shout out, of course, to Hunter Matulanis coming into this race, an unknown, and he's made his way through up the ranks, and he has kept himself in the top 5, in the top 10 from the beginning. Not wavering, not giving in any rookie mistakes. Hunter looks strong tonight, and that's an indication of what's to come for a driver who might not be the most comfortable, shall we say, with the field. And that's not a discredit or a disservice to the field as we say discomfort, but we mean that by he's just a new driver. Doesn't have the experience relative to everyone else, so getting used to a new place, not always easy, and yet Hunter has made it look like it's a veteran's drive as he keeps himself solidly in 6th. Matthew Thunhorse coming up on Matt Pressier. It's for 8th. And a little bit further back, the mid-teens are seeing some good fights here. 94 of Boomer Logan, he skirted up to the high side to avoid that previous wreck, and now it looks like he's in 18th. With a few more drivers retiring as of late, Boomer's now got a shot to go for a top 15, so long as he gets by Kyle Cooper, Tim Rogers, and eventually Nicholas Ward. All drivers now up in a line, so even though it won't be easy, Ward making a minor mistake there, it's still a big possibility. 6 laps to go, coming to 5 this time by. 27 of Cannon, still ahead and still gaining a gap of 2 seconds relative to P2 Bressi. And if Bressi isn't gaining any longer, the best he can do is hold fort, and he's done a pretty good job at that. Jared Davis is nowhere near the inside. That's another one of those lappers in Don Runkle. And so Baresi keeps his inside unoccupied. A little bit further back again, the fight remains with Boomer Logan, Tim Rogers, and from the backside, Gael Brooks. Brooks in the number 71. Talk about maybe an unexpected ride. Gael, not the strongest of qualifiers at these ovals many a time, but that doesn't matter now. He's gone from 44th up to 19th place. Talk about a commendable effort for that number 71. Brooks knows how to work a strategy and finesse it even when he's far out of the conversation. Tonight is no exception. Looks like, again, he's doing what he's known for, taking a car that is far out of its own league and taking it 20 spots up without hesitation. Again, strongest of props to that number 71 team in Brooks. He's done it many a time before, but it is always a bit of a positive surprise when he does so. You never know when Brooks will strike, especially for a good run like that. And a top 20 means so much more when there's 50 drivers registering week in, week out. Just a testament to the skill that we even see out of our mid-pack guys who might not always have the challenging speed for a win. They're still fighting there too, and they're giving it a real good shot. Coming across the line, Blake Cannon tonight. Looks like he'll get away with race victory, so long as he hangs tough for now 3 more miles. Jacob Fife, while a winner in the Tuesday night tour in the Atlanta Motor Speedway, is running in the mid-20s, currently scored in 22nd place. It looks like, unfortunately, he can't quite make his way up to victory again tonight. He had some early speed, but after the first half, he fell out of that line up front. Gonna have to sacrifice it and look for something better next week. Cannon across the line for 1 lap to go. And he's going to break the ice first to become the first multi-race winner of 2025 here in the Ignite Series. Cannon bursting onto the scene last year as a part-time driver, but we didn't expect that he would become a full-time competitor in the Ignite Series. He's defied expectations already, and with 1 win in his back pocket, why not double up? Coming through the final 2 corners in old Atlanta, Blake Cannon proves he's still got some new tricks in his sleeve. Now, the number 27 Toyota Supra does it again. 2-time race winner in 4 races. 50% win rate for Blake Cannon to open up 2025. He'll collect the checkered flag in the Dirty Bird 215. Baresi and Jared Davis wrap out the podium. Congratulations all around to the number 27 of Cannon, who simply outclassed them all in that last run. 50 starters, 1 winner, and for the 2nd time this year already, Cannon has proven class of the field from the front to the victory. Now, your number 27 will burn down the house. Cannon continues the celebration as he goes down the front straightaway, and a deserved one at that. To the start-finish line, Blake Cannon parks it again. Victory lane is his once more in the Integrity Ignite Series. Stay tuned live on FTN as we'll talk to your top 3 finishers in successive order. First and foremost, it'll be Blake Cannon winning with Thomas Baresi 2nd, Jared Davis in 3rd, Tom Wetmore P4. Hunter Matulenis finishes 5th as a rookie in his first ever start, and DJ Stagner goes 7th to Nick Tarbuck 6th. Matthew Thunhorse P8 and Vinny Tigner P9. Elliot Henderson rounds out the top 10. Then from there you'll have 11th place in Michael Stroll, 12th in Matt Press, 13th in Jack Drucker, Brent McClendon P14. Nicholas Ward rounds out the top 15 with Kyle Cooper, Boomer Logan, Gael Brooks, Tim Rogers, and Sam Nieto ending the top 20. Top 30 includes Ethan Lane, Casey Shue, Brian McFerrin, Jacob Fife, Josh Gallagher, Don Stevenson, Ryan Potter, Cody Smith, and Michael Araya, with Ronnie Osmer at its back end. Top 40 sees Don Runkle, Chad Mikas, Andrew Schaub, Josh Christman, 18-lap leader Sebastian Miller, and Joe Dinsmore, with Brandon Bernhardt, Rob Ackley, Braxton Wiesen, Gavin Fitzgerald at its final end. Your final 10 will be Blake Gordon, Tyler Hensley, Andrew Hamilton, Daniel Foss, Adam Wood, Robert Panko, Tanner Tallarico, Cal Folarski, Scott Eckridge, and Cole DeRosiers. 50 drivers from top to bottom, and for the second time already, Blake Cannon finds victory. Already a bit more familiar with it than anyone else in the series. Let's get a word from your race winner, who has done it so quickly. Once again, rarely do we see such early domination on the schedule, but it looks like defying expectations in its first full-time run on Monday nights. Blake Cannon, your second win, and you were the class of the field, especially in that second half. It seemed nobody could touch you.
Yeah, man, what a race. I mean, the racetrack was awesome. Damn, what a race. I didn't expect to be that good tonight, but sure glad I was.
Well, I'll tell you this much, starting 13th on today, maybe expecting a solid run at that, something definitely clicked in between qualifying and the race pace, because you were up there fighting for the lead as early as about lap 50 and then on out.
Yeah, I think what really hurt me in qualifying was going out a little bit later. A lot of the fast guys went out early when the track was a little bit cooler, so I got out smarter than qualifying and then just had to back up and punt in the race. But I tried to save early and, pick them off as I could while the fresh rubber was still on the tires, and got good track position. And then the longer we ran, the better I got. And then me and Thomas, we had a really good race there, the first stint, and just had to go from there and just put myself in a good position the rest of the race.
Keeping yourself up in front, track position remained key. Only 3 cautions on the day. How important was it for you to lead pit strategy as the night progressed?
It was really huge. I saw a lot of guys duck off early on that first stint, and I had already made it up in my mind I was going to make it a 2-stop race if it was green to checkered. So I stuck to it. I stuck my lap 50 mark, and then I pitted, and then I didn't want to see that caution after halfway, but it ended up working itself out. Just had to pit when we had 10 laps on our tires and just hope that it went green. So I think Ethan was playing the long game, and unfortunately it didn't work out for him, but hell of a race between me and Thomas and Jared, and man, I'm just ready to keep racing.
And already seems like we got ourselves an early title leader. Of course, we're still very early in the regular season, but 2 wins in your back pocket is good momentum to bring again to the Charlotte Roval. Road course racing, you also seem to be quite strong at. You finished in the top 3, or you were very close to finishing in the top 3 at the Circuit of the Americas. Perhaps a chance for some redemption next week in Charlotte?
Absolutely. I put in a lot of work before COTA, and it kind of showed off. So I didn't have a winning car at COTA by no means, but definitely feel like I could have run second, no worse than third. And I just, one mistake in the whole race, and it cost me. So we'll go back to work this week and try to get better for Charlotte Roval. I think it's more going to be about damage control for me and not having a terrible night. But I surprised myself at COTA, so you never know.
Strong run, of course, at our last road course, and now looking forward to the next. Nevertheless, Blake Cannon, second win on the season here in Atlanta. If you have any final comments or messages you'd like to send out here for the fans, make sure to let us know.
I just got to thank everybody at Integrity Racing League. I mean, I'm going to keep saying it as long as I get interviewed. These guys are the best out there. So the competition is not slack, and every race is hard. Every lap is hard. So shout out to all the guys in the league. Shout out to you and the broadcast team. It doesn't go unnoticed. I got to thank Tom Wetmore and everybody at Roadhouse. They kind of picked me up last week, and I kind of cost them at Pocono. So I apologize to all them guys. Glad I could get them back in victory lane this week. And, got to give a shout out to my wife, and hopefully we can keep on the winning.
Now working with a few more drivers, but the one-man show tonight in Atlanta. Blake Cannon, victory for the second time in 2025. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Cannon on the move, your second place driver has been in this position before, and once again, so close to victory, but ever so slightly outclassed at the end. A top 5 start and a top 3 finish, Thomas Bressi just off the win once more, but another podium finish.
Yeah, disappointed though. That's I thought I should have had that one. I don't know. Just thought I was gonna have a shot there at the end. I was kind of optimistic about that run to the end there. I thought I was really good on that like 40-ish lap run based on how it went with Blake the first run of the race. And yeah, they had their little thing up in front there, and I kind of got checked up behind it, and the gap just ballooned over a second, and tried to close it a little bit and just blew the tires off. So it kind of was the nail in that coffin. But I mean, still a good night. I can't be too disappointed, I suppose, but sucks to be that close again. I feel like we've had a couple opportunities so far this year that have kind of slipped away. I felt like Auto Club was one, and I totally goofed it on pit road. And yeah, so had a running theme of every time I think I can win a race, I do something stupid or something stupid happens, and then Blake wins. But good job to him, though. I mean, he ran a great race and just wasn't meant to be, I guess.
And you mentioned maybe the difference coming down to burning up those tires tonight. Not the warmest Atlanta we've ever seen, under 100 degrees Fahrenheit overall, but definitely we saw that tire shedding as the night progressed. How important was that for you to keep in check as the night went on?
Yeah, I mean, that was the difference maker. I mean, we're spending a lot of time, like the GT Motorsports guys, we were talking about it a lot in practice, just ways to try to manage it and figure out how to make passes. I mean, fortunately, I wasn't back in the hornet's nest too much, but it sounded like passing was pretty tricky. And I think really until you got deeper into a run, unless you took care of your tires and had something to work with, it was kind of hard to go anywhere. But yeah, you just had to stay on top of it and kind of just use your tools in the car to kind of, just try to keep it off the right front. I mean, even still, like I'd like to think I'm decent at taking care of the tires, and I'm still cooking that right front. It was not good. So yeah, that was the difference maker for sure tonight. So wasn't quite as bad as what it was like back when we were here a couple weeks ago for the recruitment race, but definitely still definitely was the important bit tonight, was taking care of that tire.
And it looks like tires, not quite sure if they're going to come up next week. That's something, of course, I'm sure that you already have on your mind. Road course racing, you've been one of the strongest historically at these types of venues, but it's the Charlotte Roval, not our traditional road course circuit. We haven't been here all too often as a league. How do you feel about heading back to unfamiliar territory?
I have no idea. It's going to be nuts, probably. I'm, on one hand, like, I'm sort of excited, I guess, because it is a road course. But on the other hand, I'm like, this could be a nightmare with the kind of car count that we've had. And it's not, the track's not been great. Honestly, I feel like with the stock cars here on the sim in general, and it's probably even worse in the Xfinity car, just because for whatever reason, iRacing apparently doesn't care about it or gives it good setups or anything. So it'll probably be like trying to drive the Titanic around a parking lot. So we'll see how it goes. I hope it goes well. If we get a win there, cool. But we'll just, I guess we'll see what happens next week. I have no idea. It's going to be something, though.
Twists and turns coming back up on the schedule again next week, but Thomas Bressi back in for a top 3 finish and getting closer and closer once more. Any final comments you'd like to send out? The floor is yours.
Yeah, just shout out to the JT Motorsports guys again. Obviously, Casey, Tyler, Justin wasn't here tonight, but obviously he's had some good results this year. Matt, Gael, Cal. I think the team overall has been progressing in a good direction. I know, we haven't always had the results to show for it, but I think the pace is there, and I think that's the important bit. So just looking forward to seeing how the next couple of weeks progress as we get deeper into the season with them. And obviously shout out to, the Integrity admin team for all they've done. You, of course, for doing the broadcasts, all of our partners and everything, Next Level Racing, Sim Motion, everybody else that helps support the league and allows us to have fun on Monday nights.
Thomas Bressi, middle of the podium tonight and coming away 2 seconds back on race victory, back in the top 3 once more. Thank you for your time.
Take care, buddy.
And with Thomas Bresci on the move, the last man we'd like to speak to is one who has eluded us before, and it looks like he might again. That's your third place man in Jared Davis. Sit tight as we try to find him. Jared Davis coming up next, live on FTN Broadcasting, and hopefully we'll get him in immediately. Doesn't look like for the time being he's in any broadcast booth. So if we can find him, we'll go on to him next. Give us a brief moment here as we take a minor intermission to ensure we can find your third place driver. If not, we'll wrap things up. You've been watching the Dirty Bird 215, and we'll return right after this.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Unfortunately, it appears that tonight's third place finisher, Jared Davis, is not available for comment, and we'll continue to look for him. He's eluded us all season, but again, he pulls away with another strong third place finish. So congratulations to the 19 team, and we thank him for coming out tonight. Nevertheless, racing from Atlanta has come to a close. You've been watching coverage of the Dirty Bird 215 and the Atlanta Motor Speedway. We'll come back to the schedule in a few months' time, but it will look a little bit different. It'll be instead the miniature SuperSpeedway configuration, and we hope you join us there once more. Watching exclusive broadcast coverage of the Integrity Racing League and the Ignite Series live on FTN Broadcasting, I've been your host, David Kreutz, commentating and producing. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the stream, subscribe to the channel. We hope you enjoyed tonight's coverage, and you hope, of course, we hope, going back for tomorrow's race, the Octane Series at the Phoenix Raceway, and next week's Ignite Series event, the Charlotte Roval, here Monday night, same time, same place, 9 p.m. on FTN. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Congratulations to Blake Cannon, Thomas Bresci, and Jared Davis on their podium finishes, and Blake Cannon particularly for his second victory of the campaign. We hope you enjoyed tonight's coverage once again, watching exclusive action from the Integrity Racing League, and we finally hope that you have a fantastic night.